Hello everyone, this is the Afro Avenger of Afro Avenger Music Reviews, taking back good music for good music's sake, and today we're going to be looking at the album The Name is Bootsy Baby by Bootsy Collins and his rubber band. The album was released January 14th of 1977. Some chart information: it peaked at number 16 on the US Billboard 200 and number 1 on the US Billboard Top R&B and Hip Hop chart. It was released under the label Warner Brothers, and its singles are The Pinocchio Theory and Can't Stay Away. So without further ado, let's get this started. This album came during a time when funk music was practically considered its very own religion, almost. Ever since Parliament-Funkadelic came onto the music scene, they were making songs about funk not only being able to move, but to remove, and things of that nature. Bootsy Collins, along with his rubber band, is a product of P-Funk, more or less a side project, and a lot of what Parliament and Funkadelic were doing is exactly what the rubber band was also doing. If one wasn't familiar with the rubber band and their music, they might even mistake this collection of songs to be written under P-Funk. Now, here comes the biggest dumb moment in history. This is a funk album, and as such, this album is full of funky, bass-filled, groovy instrumentation. What's interesting about this album, however, is that it's basically split into two halves. The first half is more up-tempo, party-style funk, while the second half is more along the lines of slow, groovy jams. On this album, Bootsy employed what they called the space bass, which could be the sound of Bootsy's bass using his wah-wah pedal, but he's given his bass a very spaced-out, far-away sound to it, and it shows on the majority of the tracks. Just goes to show that Bootsy was quite an innovator with his bass sounds and settings. So this album is only 8 tracks long, and the first 3 tracks are really just funky jams with heavy synthesizer use, horns, and it's just really dancey. The first track on the album, which is the title song, is recorded in a way that makes it sound like a live recording at a concert, and it actually has an interpolation of Auld Lang Syne in it. Bootsy commonly uses a lot of call and response, and is often instructing both the band and the listeners. By track 4, Preview Side 2, it's an utter shift in the sound, and this particular track sticks out among all the others. As opposed to being funky or dancey like the first 3 tracks, or slow and groovy like the next couple of tracks, this track is actually more experimental rock or space rock than anything else. It's short, but totally changes the mood and tone of the album for the limited time that it's playing. The acoustic guitars, the looming, stormy, almost evil-sounding instrumentation, it's just an absolute change from the fun, exciting music played before. The latter half of the album, as I said before, mainly consists of slower R&B influenced songs. This album was before his time, but track 5, What's a Telephone Bill, sounded a lot like the kind of work that Prince would eventually employ, and the influence is clearly there. Of course, being slow jams, you would probably expect these tracks to be love songs, which they indeed are. Many of these tracks are Bootsy directly talking to the girl of his fancy, and he makes it very personal and sincere. As with a lot of P-Funk's music, most of their songs are simply about having a good time, and this album really isn't any different. Of course, there are love songs in the latter half of the album, but for the most part, this album only wants the listener to have as much fun as the band is having playing the music. Again, Bootsy consistently instructs both the band and the listener in order to have a more exciting listening experience, often telling the listeners to get up and dance and stuff like that. It would be fair to talk about the main single and the big hit of the album, The Pinocchio Theory, and exactly what it's about. Well, basically, this whole Pinocchio theory is just that if one fakes the funk, their nose will grow. In other words, if they're insincere, there's like a consequence. Remember when I said that P-Funk blossomed into its own kind of religion? This is a good example. There are tons of characters and ideas within the P-Funk lore, and the Pinocchio theory is only one of them. Overall, this album is an essential funk album for anyone who might be looking to get into the genre. It has a fantastic mixture of both the funky, up-tempo, deep style of funk with the slower R&B, soul-influenced funk. Needless to say, this album is a really cool LP, and shows Bootsy being a very capable band leader as well as an impressive multi-instrumentalist, as he played a good number of instruments on this album, including his signature bass, guitars, and what he called drums and things. But anyways, I totally recommend listening to this album, and just about anything else recorded by members of Parliament-Funkadelic. Anyways, that is for this another album review. Thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and if you did enjoy, please click the like button. Also subscribe if you want to see more, and if there is maybe a song or an album that you want to see reviewed on this channel, just leave a comment down below, or check out my Facebook or my Twitter. The links are in the description. But anyways, I will see you all in the next video. So long.